New name, new game, new identity. EA Sports FC represents a big chance for EA to carve a fresh identity away from FIFA, but there are plenty who will be rightfully concerned that it'll be a Groundhog Day all over again, despite the fresh green grass. So let's dive into everything we thought on our hands-on preview of the apparent next beautiful video game. On the whole, things are looking really positive with EA Sports FC 24, and while it's still essentially the same FIFA we all know and mostly love, there's very little wrong with that. Like a stadium getting an extra stand bolted on, it's all about shoring up the foundations, and it doesn't get much more foundational than the kickoff mode we've had access to for the last few days. While EA Sports FC 24 does follow the same structure as we are all used to, there are a number of new tricks that seasoned players will definitely find reason to be excited about. So let's talk mechanics. Both the controlled sprint and precision pass look to already be fantastic additions to the core formula. It offers players new ways to play and unlock tight defences, both AI and player control. While the enhanced control and curve of the precision pass was perhaps more immediately alluring, the controlled sprint is probably the more important of the two. One of the biggest travesties of the FIFA series is that we've never really felt close to being able to capture the magic of someone like Lionel Messi, as the peak of his talents, especially his dribbling, was largely unable to be replicated within the game. But the controlled sprint feels as close as we have ever gotten to the Argentine's mercurial dribbling, being able to turn and shift on a dime far more effectively than ever before. So of course it comes at a time when he's moved away from the height of his powers in La Liga. Another massive addition to the game are playstyles. These act almost like juiced up traits and serve to make the top players actually feel distinct beyond their stats alone. Any player can be fast, but only those on the level of someone like Kylian Mbappe can get the speed dribbler playstyle, allowing them to stay in complete control even while running full tilt. It raises the top players onto another level and makes them truly feel like the best in the world. And while it was quite restrictive to test out, considering the limited number of players we had access to in the preview, we did very much get a sense that these playstyles could really impact how good a player feels to control. Something that's going to be really important in modes like Ultimate Team, where you can truly craft your ideal squad of players. Probably one of the most subtle improvements that we noticed from last year's entry is how much more responsive everything feels. It's not necessarily that EA Sports FC 24 moves faster, there was just a bit less sluggishness than you might typically find between your button presses and the player actually performing the action in game. There's an argument that it might have been the calibre of players we were using. You might find you're less successful playing with Luton Town than PSG, obviously, but we found ourselves able to pull off those quicker shots, those millisecond passes that would have otherwise been intercepted, and make those micro adjustments when dribbling to ferry the ball away from a reaching defender's boot slightly better than we used to. It's not going to be enough of a game changer for everyone, beyond the most dedicated who pick FIFA up every year to really notice, but it definitely contributed to making the game feel fresher in the hands of someone who has maybe played a bit too much FIFA over the last few years. So that's gameplay. What about the visuals? You'd be forgiven for expecting the worst after the reveal of EA Sports FC 24's less than ideal Ultimate Edition cover, which was the first time that the in-engine models have been thrust to the forefront of a game box to, shall we say, mixed reactions. Thankfully, the game doesn't look anywhere near that when you're actually playing it, at the very least because you're much further away from the players. There's also what EA is calling ground truth ambient occlusion. What that means in actual English is the game uses lighting to help bring it closer to photorealism, and EA SFC undoubtedly does look good. You can see an improved level of depth in the lighting, especially when it comes to those atmospheric cold Tuesday nights under the floodlights, but it does feel like we've reached a bit of a roadblock at this point with improvements to fidelity, and the difference between this and FIFA 23 are negligible, to be honest. Instead, where you'll find actual improvement is from an animation perspective, with enhanced hypermotion technology and muscle rendering to make each player move in a more realistic manner, which at this point make the game feel far more realistic than any graphics will be able to. With all that said, EA Sports FC 24 is not going to draw back any players who've fallen off the FIFA train, since it's largely the same game, just with a different name. But if you're a FIFA lover who plays it every week, there is a lot to look forward to. We did, sadly, only get to grasp how the game feels in a standard match setting. Ultimate Team and Career Mode were resoundingly off limits in our hands-on preview, but from what we've seen so far, there will be a lot to be excited about when those modes get their grand reveals. The core experience is taking a step in the right direction, so with any luck, EA Sports FC could be the wonder kid to replace the aging, grizzled veteran FIFA has become. And if you're a fan of the FIFA series, you should check out these videos, so you can spend the last few months of FIFA 23 truly winding up your mates.